Hello everyone and welcome to my channel. My name's EJ Marino and right now we are diving into some very big film news. We have a big change in some of your favorite superhero movies. Yes, Kevin Feige will not be producing any more Spider-Man films going forward. Yes, this is a very big deal because this means Sony and Marvel Studios will not be working together anymore. Hallelujah. I have been wanting this from the jump. Right after Spider-Man Homecoming came out, I said, oh no, this partnership is not for me. I am a long-time Spider-Man film fan, and I don't know, I really feel like they lost a lot of their heart and soul when they went into those MCU type of movies. I love Tom Holland in the role. I think he does great, but the forced inclusions of Tony Stark, the fact that they've made Spider-Man just a Tony Stark protege, there's a lot in this I really didn't like. The MCU connections felt so forced, but at the same time, he felt so isolated. Now that Tony Stark has passed away in the films, where was Spider-Man gonna go? Was he gonna call up an Avenger that he hasn't had a scene with and go, oh hey Hawkeye, what you doing today? It's Friday. Do you have a teenage daughter I can date? I'm bored. What are you doing? Seriously, I didn't understand what they were gonna do post Tony Stark. Well, now it seems like they're going to be just moving forward in an entirely new direction. So let's break down this deal and why this this fell through, because this is a really strange thing. It seemed like everything was going well, and now we're going into renegotiations. This is a big point. Like a couple years ago, I believe it was about 5 years ago, they made like a landmark deal that Sony and Marvel Studios were going to work together on making some Spider-Man movies. He was going to be included in the MCU, and basically that Marvel was going to give them a slight boost because the Sony deal, they needed that. Like at that time, they weren't having the success with Venom. They weren't trying to launch Morbius. They didn't have Into the Spider-Verse. Yes, they had the iconic Raimi movies and the polarizing Amazing Spider-Man films, but they weren't in a position where they are now, honestly. They have Spider-Man Far From Home, a $1 billion movie. Now, is that just for the MCU connections? Because that's going to start an interesting debate. Were you only watching the Spider-Man movies because of the MCU? Like, are you not a big Spider-Man fan? You just like that he was in the MCU? Like, where does that lie? Because a lot of people are like, well, I'm not watching a Spider-Man movie now. And I'm like, so you just like them because they were MCU movies? That starts a very interesting conversation. So let's go back to the negotiations. It seemed like Marvel Studios in the report from Deadline was asking for 50-50 of the future Spider-Man films. Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't know that Disney was producing these. These are, Spider-Man is a Sony property. This is crazy that Marvel's like, yeah, but we want 50-50 because he's half ours. Like, yes, he's been included in, okay, he was in one full Infinity War movie, we'll count that, and he has 2 very small scenes in Civil War. Does he really add a lot to that? Like, is he an Avengers character because of his small role in, small role in those other 2 and his Infinity War, like, scenes? Like, I'm very intrigued of, like, why was he your character? What did you really do other than adding Tony Stark to me, which was a hindrance for the character and really why I didn't love these movies? But other than adding him, what makes this like a Disney thing that you can ask for 50%? That is wild and a really big deal of why I think this deal fell through, because it seemed like Disney was being greedy and Sony had like cockiness. Like I do think they're being a little egotistical and a little cocky. I'm not just all pro Sony here. I think it's kind of bold for them to go, well, we're done with you. We don't need you. That's crazy. That's ballsy, but you know, Disney's a ballsy company, so someone needed to check back. In the report from Deadline, it seemed like Sony executive Tom Rothman did not like the deal that Disney had presented him. Basically, like I said, they asked for 50-50, and they wanted a little bit more pull in some of the other Sony movies. You know, those ones that they've been doing hardcore by themselves. No Kevin Feige support with Into the Spider-Verse. No Kevin Feige support with Venom. Actually wanted to be very far away from Venom. So now you want a little bit more. So that's why the Sony executives were like, we don't even give you an offer back. We don't have anything to say, because if that's your offer, now this could all change. There could be a very dramatic move that Kevin Feige makes to make them there. I don't think Disney's going to buy Sony, as some of y'all are saying. I don't think it's going to be anything like that, but there could be in a completely crazy business move on the other side. But as of right now, it does seem like this is the end of that connection. What do you feel? How do you feel about all of this? Were you really only invested in Spider-Man because he's in the MCU? Are you just happy to see Tom Holland grow in this character a little bit more? I want to know all your feelings in the comments below. What do you think of all this madness? I'm just kind of trying to process it all. I'm just trying to deal with watching the new movie named Parasite I'm going to review, dealing with all the Matrix news. This has been a busy, busy day, and now we have this. Oh man, I thought this was going to be a slow news week until D23, but surprise, we have some surprises from Sony.